Okay, well, just as I predicted, the Royals won the World Series. They didn't win it on the day that I thought they would, but they did win it on a very interesting day, and I did mention this day. But moral of the story, super coded. It all ties back into Pope Francis. This whole game was ridiculous, especially the ninth inning on or whatever. But I just want to point out the reason both of these teams were coded to Queen Elizabeth, but the Royals were coded to Pope Francis. Pope Francis came to the United States this year on 9/23, and he went to the or 9/22, but he went to the White House at 9/23 on 9/23. Tons of other stuff with it. And remember the power outage. Please go back and watch my other videos. I've talked about a lot of this stuff multiple times. And there's just a lot of information to cram in one 15-minute video. But remember the power went out or whatever in the first game. On 9/19, I talked about this number connecting to the Queen, but look, it came back on at 9:23 p.m. even. And remember they had the in the park home run on the first pitch to score one run in the first inning of the 111th World Series. Oh, the odds of that. And then the World Series ends on 11/1. Queen Elizabeth was even born on the 111th day, September 11th, 9/11. Everybody knows that. There's 111 days left until the end of the year even. It's the mere day of Queen Elizabeth's birthday. Also, this game went 5 hours and 9 minutes long, 59. Interesting because Kansas City Royals actually add up to 59, just like Pope Francis. Also interesting to point out, Kansas City adds up to 122, just like Pope Francis, just like San Francisco. San Francisco is named after St. Francis of Assisi, the same guy that Pope Francis got his name from. Golden State, we've talked about the Golden Gate Bridge and whatnot, 122. It also all ties back to the Philadelphia train wreck, in the movie Trainwreck even, when Amy Schumer was 9 years old in the very beginning of the movie, and then the rest of the movie is based 23 years later, 9/23. Pope Francis went to Philadelphia this year. That was the last place he visited on his trip to the United States. Philadelphia is in the Book of Revelation. The Philadelphia train wreck happened at 9:23 p.m. It was going 106 miles an hour, and it even had the engine number 601. October 6th, if you convert that to the Julian calendar, Gregorian to Julian, it's the same as 9/23. Interesting, it's 13 days, like Gregorian and Julian are 13 days different this year. And the guy who won the World Series MVP was number 13, Salvador Perez. Also, in regards to Philadelphia and whatnot, Pope Francis in Jewish gematria adds up to 404. I said Philadelphia is in the Book of Revelation. The Book of Revelation is 404 verses, and the King James Bible came out in the year 1611, which is 404 years ago. Pope Francis even arrived in the United States this year on 9/22 at 4:04 p.m. Also interesting to note is that Prince Charles adds up to 404 in Jewish gematria as well. If Queen Elizabeth dies, Prince Charles will be the new King of England. And like I said, they coded this World Series to the Queen with both teams. And then I noticed a ton of Pope Francis references to the Kansas City Royals. So what got me thinking this a long time ago, and I actually had predicted, I thought it was going to be a Subway series at one point because of the movie Trainwreck, and it's about Subway, whatever. You had Jared from Subway, you had the Marines on the train that saved the guy, the terrorist on the train or whatever. Then the one guy even was from Roseburg, Oregon. You had Nicholas Winton, who died at the age of 106, who saved the Jewish children on the train. There was tons of train references in the news or whatever. So I thought maybe it was going to be a Subway series. But in the movie Trainwreck, they even pretty much foreshadow the Mets being in the World Series. But at the beginning of October, I changed my mind because of the curse of the Billy Goat. I thought the Cubs were going to make the World Series and then lose to the Royals. but I've explained that in the previous videos that the Cubs were surrounded with 91 that I have noticed has been a significant number in like elimination or death or whatever. So anyway, the moral of the story was on June 6th this year, a guy dressed up as the Pope caught a home run ball of Salvador Perez. Interesting to point out before I even move on, Salvador Perez adds up to 162, just like Major League Baseball, just like the amount of games they play in the regular season. Also, this video is 36 seconds long. Pope Francis was even born in 1936. If you sum the digits of 1 through 36, it adds up to 666. I've also shown a lot of connections dealing with the day Pope Francis became Pope and how it ties into Mark of the Beast. 600, 6 score, and 6 even adds up to the same as the day that he became the Pope. Tons of other stuff with it, but I'm just going to play this clip really quick to show you. And I even predicted that Salvador Perez, there was going to be something significant about him in the World Series this year. And then he ended up being the MVP. I mean, what are the odds of that? All by the numbers. And by these storylines that they put in front of you. Look at that even. I mean, 11 pitches in the 9th inning, 1-1, 9-1-1, 9-1-1 even. Funny. And maybe not that significant that it does that, but interesting it's from the MLB.com, so you know that they did that on purpose. Also, the day is 6-6, and even if you add 1 and 5, it's literally 6, 6, and 6. And let's put a few here. Pope Francis is the Antichrist, adds up to 133. If you do this as a date, that's 13-3, the way they do it in England, or whatever. So Pope Francis became the Pope on March 13th of 2013. 3-13-13, or 13-3-13. 306 scored 6. The Mark of the Beast, 666. 133, also 313. So anyway, just want to point out some coding here. So I can't believe I never noticed this until tonight, but the Royals haven't won the World Series for 30 years. 30 years in Gematria adds up to 168, just like Queen Elizabeth, just like New York Mets, just like Kauffman Stadium. I even talked about how Kanye West sung the Queen song at Glastonbury this year, and the guy got up on the stage and took the mic, kind of like what happened to him in the Taylor Swift or whatever. Taylor Swift adds up to 168. Beyonce Knowles adds up to 168. Literally, just think about it. The Mets even play in Queens, New York. The Royals, royalty, Queen Elizabeth. I made previous videos on this, like I said. Just try to go back and check if you don't understand what I'm talking about. She's even born on the 111th day of the year. It was the 111th World Series. But moving on, 30 years also adds up to 60 in Pythagorean Gematria. This number I've talked about multiple times since probably the beginning of September. Even like you had Daryl Dawkins. He adds up to 60. Moses Malone also died at the age of 60. Malone adds up to 60. They were both Philadelphia 76ers. Daryl Dawkins was the first NBA player to come out of high school directly to the NBA. Moses Malone was the first ABA player to come out of the high school to play in the ABA. I mentioned a ton of stuff about Teen Wolf and whatnot. I'm actually going to make another video after this regarding that, so I don't want to go that much into detail, but you had Flip Saunders, who even just died recently at the age of 60. 1960 was 55 years ago, 1955, 60 years ago, so mirrored years. Timberwolves, 55, Minneapolis, 55. They play in the Target Center, 55. Also, I've talked about all this coding with Lincoln, Nebraska, and Abraham Lincoln, how I think that's foreshadowing the assassination of Obama. Even Lincoln, Nebraska adds up to 60, just like Abraham Lincoln. And interesting to point out, it's not Lincoln, but Kansas City Royals AAA team. They used to be the Omaha Royals, and they were from Omaha, which Omaha and Lincoln kind of go hand in hand, sort of, but anyway, they're called the Storm Chasers now. But interesting that the team actually plays there. Who knows? And I'm going to run out of time, so I'm actually going to have to make another part. But anyway, so whatever. Kansas City Royals adds up to 212 as well. And Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12th, 212. I mean, and think about it. Think about when the game ended tonight and what the score was. There was 2-2 in the 12th, and then all hell broke loose, right? So anyway, to this game, I mean, the most ridiculous stuff ever. So the Royals looked like they were going to lose, and all of a sudden they scored 2 runs in the 9th. Because in one of the big deals they kept making over and over, if you watch this game, I don't want to pull up clips because my laptop doesn't record that great from my webcam, but Matt Harvey, the whole thing was Matt Harvey, he convinced them to let him go back in the 9th or whatever, and he ends up pitching 111 pitches on a game that's on 11-1, the 111th World Series. He's also number 33, so I had 33 always seems to be tied in with the death hoaxes and whatnot. If you watch Zachary K. Hubbard's videos, he talks a lot about 33 and a lot of death or whatever, but Matt Harvey in Gematria adds up to 133 and also 43. Remember, Abraham Lincoln was even born on the 43rd day of the year, but whatever. They always, every time he pitches, they mention that he had Tommy John surgery. Because Tommy John, look at Tommy John. Tommy John adds up to the exact same thing as Matt Harvey, and even the 133 that I just talked about, how it ties into Pope Francis. And Tommy John was literally even born in the year 1943. His name adds up to 43. Also, it says, like, so the Tommy John surgery is named after him or whatever, because he's the first one to have it or whatever, experimental surgery or whatever. In the middle of an excellent 1974 season, John had a 13-3 record as the Dodgers were en route to their first National League pennant in 8 years, before he permanently damaged his, ulnar collateral ligament. So, literally, he had to get that surgery after the record of 13-3. His name adds up to 133. I mean, give me a break. He's even 72 years old. I mean, the game ended on a score of 7-2 tonight. And I mean, just go back and watch this game. At the very beginning, they make it a big deal that Matt Harvey came back from Tommy John surgery. So anyway, I really thought that the Mets were done after I started seeing some of these pitchers here. So this guy came in and pitched after Harvey. Let's look at his name in Gematria. His name adds up to 59, just like Pope Francis, just like Kansas City Royals. The next pitcher was Jonathan Neese. Let's check out Jonathan Neese in Gematria. Oh, 59 again. Also, what Familia came in on his 5th pitch is when Salvador Perez hit the broken bat that Hosmer scored on. So it was literally the 5th pitch of his in the 9th inning, the 59. And I mean, that play was ridiculous. There's no reason that Hosmer should have scored. It's the worst throw ever. My 5-year-old nephew could probably throw the ball better than that. Also, the Royals had 5 hits through 9 innings. I mean, give me a break. 5 hits through 9 innings. Even after the 9th inning, the score was 2-2, 9-22. The same day Pope Francis came to the United States. Literally, the Royals got 5 runs in the 12th, 5-12. The same day of the Philadelphia train wreck. Just wanted to prove that really quick. May 12th, 5-12, Philadelphia train wreck. So then the Mets brought in Addison Reed, and he was pitching when the Royals took their first lead in the 12th. This guy was the guy who scored. His name adds up to 77, just like the pitcher. His name also adds up to 212, just like Kansas City Royals, just like the day Abraham Lincoln was born. And go figure, the guy who hit him in was Christian Colon. Christian, you get it? The Pope, Christian, come on. Right after that, Murphy even misses the ground ball on the 17th pitch in the 12th, 12-17, the same day Pope Francis was born. Escobar then hits the 24th pitch, and it scores Colon, number 24, to make the score 4-2 even. Then the Mets bring in Bartolo Colon, another Colon, And wouldn't you know, Cologne adds up to 59. But I ran out of time, so I'm going to leave a few notes